This is Rose. I had the pleasure of meeting her and working with her for the past 3 months, and she was able to completely and successfully transition to a whole food plant-based diet. Not just your ordinary plant-based diet, but complete whole food, and that's no simple task. So in this interview, she's going to be going over what her typical meals used to look like, what they look like today, the types of challenges she's had to overcome during this transition, the health benefits she's been able to achieve, as well as some advice that she might have for you guys. So make sure you stay tuned till the end for that. Rose, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Rose. I live in North Carolina. I've been here for 5 years. I'm originally from Connecticut, but I'm a transplant to North Carolina. I am 60 years old. I am retired, but I volunteer for 2 organizations that keep me very busy. And I have 2 grown children and 1 grandchild that are in another state, so I don't get to see them as often as I wish, but
oh, that's wonderful. How old is your grandson?
He's almost 18 months.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah.
Okay, Rose, what did your typical diet consist of prior to starting my program?
Well, I had already started to do more of a plant-based diet about a year ago, but I was not doing SOS, which is the salt, oil, and sugar-free. I did still have oil in my diet and sugar. I'm not really a salt person, so I didn't really use a lot of salt, but those were definitely a deterrent in my weight loss journey.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, and didn't you used to cook a lot of Italian meals, so olive oil was like your everything?
Olive oil's in my blood. I'm 100% Italian, so everything we cooked with, vegetables, whatever, salads, always olive oil.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your primary motivation behind making the plant-based transition, and what results were you hoping to achieve?
Well, I was introduced to a few videos, Forks Over Knives and Game Changers, and just really, that was my prime motivation for doing plant-based, just for all the chemicals and antibiotics and everything that is in animal and dairy products and etc. And it just totally opened my eyes to saying that I really need to do something for myself. I wish that more people would understand and learn about whole food, plant-based, but my real true motivation was my personal well-being. I've been heavy for the past 10 plus years, and I wanted to really lose weight as I enter into another decade of my life when I turn 60, and just wanted to feel better, have more energy, look better in my clothes, and feel good about myself. And that's my prime motivation for doing this.
Those are fantastic reasons. Like Rose mentioned, she was drastically trying to reduce her sweets with no avail. Her husband has quite the sweet tooth, so trying to navigate a home situation where there is such an opposition when it comes to your taste preferences, and not so much your taste preferences, but your dietary goals, shall we say, it can get very, very tricky. But she also wanted to increase her energy, build some lean muscle. She really wanted to get off of her statin. She's on a very low amount of Lipitor, so she's on a very minimal dosage of her statin, but she was not happy with that, and she's still not happy with that. But she also wanted to lose about 40 pounds, particularly around her midsection where all of your visceral fat likes to hang out. So that's the fat around your organs that can cause some serious damage, and she wanted to get rid of that ASAP. She also, like she mentioned, wanted to go 100% whole food plant-based, and she wasn't quite sure how to do that without some assistance and some accountability. So that's where I was able to help support her through this transition. But she also wanted to no longer be tempted by what others are eating. And for that takes time. That takes some rebuilding of your neuronal mechanisms to a point where you can have new habits and new norms, so to speak. So those things don't bother you as much as they used to. And I think Rose can say that she's finally there and her mindset is completely shifted in that manner. So Rose, what does a typical day's worth of meals look like now?
Now, typically what I do for breakfast is I prep, cook which is very important for anyone who's doing this type of lifestyle change, is to have meals already prepped for yourself so you're not tempted to just grab something and go type of thing. But what I do is I do mostly oatmeal, which is the whole oat that I pre-cook, and I mix my greens with it so that I'm getting greens first thing in the morning, and I do a raw spinach and a raw baby kale or something like that with some berries. And believe it or not, sometimes I actually have steamed broccoli or steamed Brussels sprouts with my oats as well. It keeps me satiated so that I'm not hungry in between meals like I used to be before. And then for lunch, it's usually a big salad, and I like to have a lot of crunch in my salad, so I put the raw broccoli and the raw cauliflower, and a lot of times I'll do shaved Brussels sprouts and just all the greens and carrots and onions and cabbage, and I make my own dressing, which has no oil in it, and it's basically just balsamic vinegar. Sometimes I'll mix a little nutritional yeast in it with some herbs, lemon juice or something like that, and it tastes great and satisfying to me. And then for dinner, it's either a veggie stir fry, which I stir fry in water, no longer using oil, or I'll do some type of a stuffed potato, like a sweet potato stuffed with broccoli and veggies. I do try to get beans into my diet as well, so I'll do beans with my salad, and then beans usually with my dinner, if it's stir fried or just beans up on top, or I'll do a veggie chili with beans or something like that. That's hearty and satisfying.
Wow, it sounds like you're really enjoying these meals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rose gets real creative with her whole food plant-based selections, to say the least. Here's a great question. What noticeable changes have you experienced in your health thus far?
The fact that I feel more energetic. I used to get that afternoon slump a lot, and I very rarely get that tired feeling in the afternoon, meaning that I have more energy now. As Karli mentioned, my visceral area is definitely getting smaller. My clothes are fitting much better. I can fit into clothes that I couldn't fit into a year ago, being that they were too tight. My skin is clear. Not that I had really bad skin, but I just feel I don't get that really dry skin. And basically, overall, my mind is clear. I don't get fogginess. I'm able to manage my stress much better. And I think that's a big thing because we all have stress in our lives. And the biggest thing is the mindset of being conscious of what you're eating and whether it's good for you or not. Just being very mindful of reading labels and understanding food and really trying to do whole food, plant-based. Not a byproduct of a whole food, but the actual whole food, as Karli has taught me.
Those sound like some amazing benefits, Rose. So she has lost a total of 13 pounds in these past 3 months, and that is not easy, especially as you age. You get past menopause and everything seems to slow down, and you have to work twice as hard to take care of something that would naturally take care of itself when you were younger. It's just not fair. But that's not 100% for each individual. It definitely varies. She also was able to improve her sleep, not only her quality, but her duration, which is a win-win for anybody, I feel. She easily sticks to her diet in social situations, even when her hubby is eating things like chocolate cake in front of her. She actually said to me that, Karli, it doesn't even faze me anymore, by about the second month. So that's pretty incredible. Her taste sensitivity has improved noticeably, and she started reporting that at about the 5th week mark. So about a month in, she was able to start really enjoying these foods to a point where she didn't miss her other ones. And she also mentioned that she has improved her energy and stamina. So now she's able to build that lean muscle. Her and her husband actually joined a rec center nearby her home where she is able to work out several times a week. And she also recovers from those workouts by 24 hours into her next day. So I don't know about you, but being sore for days on end from a workout makes me not want to work out. So it's a big game changer when you're able to recover from your workout so quickly from all these high antioxidant laden foods. If you find yourself struggling with this transition or losing those excess pounds, make sure you click my link in the description box below and schedule a free 45-minute consultation with me so we can get started on your health journey. So, what were the major challenges taking on this transition so far?
Well, the biggest one was learning not to be tempted by what others are eating. And as Karli mentioned, my husband is a chocoholic and likes his sweets and likes to snack a lot. And I just had to change my mindset about it and say, is it really benefiting me by eating this? So that was my biggest challenge, was just overcoming the temptations, I would say.
Oh, I feel like that's everybody's biggest challenge. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then the other thing was learning to go without cooking with oil, which for my whole 59 and a half years, was raised on oil and cooked with oil. So that was the hardest thing for me to actually give up, was the cooking oil, the olive oil. And I find that I don't need it. And if I were to go someplace where there was olive oil or oil in a product, I can tell right off the bat, and I try not to eat it. I don't know what else.
No, those are great. So I think another thing that we often overlook is not only did Rose have to learn how to cook without oil and enjoy her foods without oil, but she also had to completely change her mindset around the fact that oil is not a health food. We are taught throughout our entire life that olive oil is this some saving grace that we're all supposed to consume in huge quantities, and then we'll have beautiful skin, and somehow our arteries aren't going to clog up from all the saturated fat and such. So I think that mindset shift is key to really sustaining these benefits and providing these healthy, nourishing meals day after day after day for yourself. So how are your cravings for the processed and animal foods now compared to the initial weeks on the program, or even prior to that when you were still consuming those foods? Do you recall?
Well, anybody who smells a burger place charbroiling hamburgers, who is a meat eater, instantly, has that, oh my God, I have to have a burger kind of thing. I actually stopped eating meat many years ago, and I was basically a pescatarian for many years. And then more recently, a year ago, I completely cut everything. No dairy, no chicken, no fish, no meat or anything. And so I wasn't really a big red meat eater. Pretty much all of my cravings are gone, mostly because I am of the mindset that, again, is this going to benefit me by eating it? Am I going to harm myself or reverse my goals that I've attained so far by eating something that I don't really need or I don't really actually want anymore? So my taste buds have changed tremendously, and I mentioned to Karli that when I cook heat tops, you can taste the natural salt in them, and I identify with that so much more. I was almost to the point where I was like, wow, these are really salty, and I can't imagine having to put salt on a vegetable that already has salt in it. Celery has natural salt. Like a lot of vegetables have natural salt in them that you don't crave salt. I never really craved salt. I never had to salt my food because I grew up with, my mom didn't cook with salt. So I got used to not having salt. That's one of the big things.
Okay, so what was the hardest thing to give up, or is there anything that you still miss?
Well, come birthday time, when you have your birthday cake, I'm fine with eating fruit as my dessert. So my sweets are now oranges and grapes and melon and apples and berries, and that's what I consider candy. Or even, and I think I mentioned this to Karli, eating roasted butternut squash turns to candy. It's so sweet. And sweet potatoes, if you roast them properly. I know somebody who puts brown sugar on butternut squash. I'm like, why? You don't need it, they're sweet. I mean, a lot of vegetables are sweet, so, and obviously the fruit is sweet, so that helps me with my past desire to really eat sweets. I don't pick up a little piece of a candy bar and eat it like I used to before, or, steal a cookie or something like that. I don't need that.
Yeah, absolutely. Rose is very modest, but she is a very avid learner. When she came to me, she was already super knowledgeable about this process and why she wanted to do it. She had already been following a number of the typical plant-based pioneers, and she continues to immerse herself in this material. So she is constantly reminded and knowledgeable about why she is choosing to override her instincts and why it's so much more important to have that sweet potato with all, what do they put on it at Thanksgiving? Like a bunch of brown sugar and marshmallows?
Butter.
Why? Why would you ruin a perfectly good sweet potato? So yes, those are some of her tricks. So do you see yourself maintaining this lifestyle long term?
This is the lifestyle that I plan to live for the rest of my life and beyond. I'm getting asked a lot, what, you're on a diet now? And I'm like, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle change. It's just eating whole foods, which are plants, vegetables, legumes. It's something that I want to maintain for the rest of my life. It's just something that I'm hoping my husband will follow, but I mean, he's basically a meat and potatoes kind of guy, but he will sometimes just eat a salad with me for lunch. But of course he has to have dressing on it. Not my dressing, but sometimes he will. But really it's my way of life for the rest of my life. And I want to be healthy, and I want to be happy and healthy and continue on my weight loss journey till I get to the point where I am where I want to be and where I should be for my height and my body type. And that's my goal.
Yep. It's wonderful to just be that example for your family of just that epitome of health. And even one additional salad at a lunch from time to time is better than the meat and potatoes that he would normally have. So I think that's still great that you're wearing off on your husband.
A little bit.
So what advice would you give to someone considering this transition to a whole food plant-based lifestyle?
The most important thing is to know that you're doing it for yourself, not for anybody else but yourself. And that once you set your mind to it, that this is the way you want to eat for the rest of your life, there are so many, numerous millions of ways to cook a healthy, whole food, plant-based meal that you will never get bored. I come up with recipes all the time, and I've shared a few with Karli that I just kind of came up with myself, knowing what I could eat, reading your labels if you're buying any type of food that is not whole food plant-based is so important because there's added chemicals. I don't drink any longer. I was doing almond milk and soy milk, but I completely took those out of my diet because there's added chemicals. Even in some organic products, there may be some additives, maybe they're natural additives, but I just found that I'm fine making a smoothie with water. And I put in frozen banana, frozen fruit, my greens, my spinach, my kale, arugula sometimes, depending on what's in it, pumpkin. I don't need to have added protein or added milks or almond milks or whatever into my smoothie to make it satisfying for me. Your taste buds will change. Your consciousness of what you're eating is important, and reading and knowledge. And I'm reading a whole nother book now. Karli had recommended reading Dr. Greger's How Not to Diet is the last one I read. And I'm reading another book right now, which is an audiobook by Simon Hill called Plant Powered. And he talks about transitioning to a plant-based diet. And he is a buff young man. If you were to see him on Rich Roll podcast, which I like to listen to as well, 100% whole food, plant-based. There are athletes that are 100% whole food, plant-based, male, women. And I just feel that once you start this lifestyle, you won't want to go back to eating dairy and animal products, processed foods. You can make your own food. You can make your own potato chips by just slicing potatoes and cooking them in an air fryer. And they get crunchy just like a regular potato chip. You don't need oil. And just the whole lifestyle has been a game changer for me. And I hope that it will inspire others to follow this type of lifestyle.
Something else that I wanted to add is that this woman has found a fantastic system around the social aspects of eating whole food plant-based in a standard American diet style environment. She will pack all of her food that she will need and bring with her on vacations. At weddings, she drinks seltzer water and makes sure she gets plenty of the fresh fruits and vegetables that they lay out on the buffet table. She also is able to make her own oatmeal in hotel rooms. She brings her pressure cooker when she goes on vacation. And she also learned which restaurants she can go to get the most plant-based meals with the least amount of additives, or she'll bring her own dressing. She has a wonderful system around sustaining this lifestyle, and it's really important for anybody trying to move in this direction or trying to improve your health on any level. Is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, and don't be afraid to bring a little container of beans or chickpeas if you're going to meet a friend to have a salad. No one's going to say anything if you pour that on your salad. I've done it many times. My friends look at me and I say, "Oh yeah, okay." But yeah, I mean, we go on vacation. We have 2 coolers, and we just went on vacation to Connecticut to visit family, and my cooler was chock packed of all of my greens, and I had a box of all my beans, and I had containers with my oatmeal in it. Part of my family doesn't follow this program. I have a daughter and son-in-law who do, but my other family doesn't. But I just said, you guys do you, and I'll do me, and I made my own food, and it all worked out well.
Oh, that sounds so perfect. Good. I'm glad this is working out for you, Rose. Okay,
thanks
guys.
to you and your guidance that's helped me through this process, because I needed that accountability, and I needed your guidance, and your guidance has been amazing. And whenever I had questions, you were able to answer them and give me the right answers. Even though I may have questioned them, after I thought about them, they were the right answers. So I appreciate you and your help with me through this journey.
Oh, you are so welcome, Rose, and I love how honest and forthcoming you are. All right, guys, I'm sure Rose will update us in the future with her wonderful health benefits, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, Rose.
Bye-bye.